The skies over the Middle East flared red once again, but this time it wasn't just symbolic. This was the moment Israel was truly struck silent. Not because it had exhausted its arsenal, but because fear had finally taken root. In Tel Aviv, the sirens no longer warned. They screamed that nowhere was safe. Iran's assault came from every direction: ballistic missiles, kamikaze drones, and precision strikes from hundreds of miles away. This wasn't a drill, a bluff, or a routine skirmish. It was a message carved into fire. Israel is not untouchable. What shook the world wasn't the firepower, but the silence within Israel itself. Political chaos, infighting, and an unfamiliar dread now filled the air. An unease that could no longer be masked by slick press releases. In this video, we explore the aftermath of that missile storm. Buildings crumbled, but what collapsed even faster was the morale inside Israel's military structure. And if this was just the beginning, what comes next? Among the many cities hit, Bat Yam took the harshest blow. A key missile struck a nearby mountain at impossible speed. No sirens sounded, no Iron Dome answered. The city's defenses were non-existent that night. The explosion leveled apartment blocks, buried families, and scattered concrete across the horizon. 9 lives were lost, 3 of them children. But worse than the deaths was the erosion of trust in what had once been Israel's most prized asset, its defense shield. Right in its own urban heart, that illusion collapsed. Close by, in Rishon LeZion, devastation followed. The media barely covered it, but it was no less brutal. This wasn't collateral damage, it looked like a war zone. Missiles tore through residential zones and industrial centers, roads split open, buildings tumbled, and shards of glass cut through everything. In one harrowing clip, debris blanketed the streets, cars flattened, people stood in stunned silence. The horror Israel once outsourced to Gaza had circled back. The trauma was no longer foreign. It had come home. June 13 marked a new chapter. A missile didn't just get through. It hit the Kiryat complex, Israel's military brain. This fortress housed the IDF headquarters, the Ministry of Defense, and top intelligence units. It was believed impenetrable, protected by layers of Iron Dome, David's sling, and advanced radar. Yet that night, one missile sliced through them all and detonated deep inside. No casualties were confirmed, but the psychological impact was undeniable. If the Kiryat could be hit, what place was truly secure? The myth of military invincibility didn't just crack, it shattered. And then came the most unsettling strike, quiet but devastating. The Weizmann Institute in Rehovot was targeted. This was no ordinary facility. It held secret research on nuclear and military advancements. Iran hit it directly. There were no headlines, no official confirmation, but eyewitnesses reported a massive explosion and columns of black smoke rising from the site. Sensitive labs were destroyed, including what insiders claimed was a key operations wing. By striking there, Iran wasn't just targeting hardware, it was signaling that even Israel's intellect, its strategic mind, could be wounded. Next came Ramat Gan, a city long considered out of harm's way. That illusion died quickly. A missile tore into a residential block. The blast rattled the entire district. Smoke blanketed the skyline. Entire buildings collapsed. Streets turned to rubble. Houses crumbled in seconds. A peaceful suburb transformed into a war zone. The psychological impact was crushing. If Ramat Gan wasn't safe, nowhere was. On day 4, the attacks escalated dangerously. This time, Iran struck Israel's energy core, Haifa. A missile hit a major power station, igniting a firestorm. Northern Israel plunged into darkness. Worse, an ammonia storage tank caught fire. A facility known for its mass casualty potential. And it didn't end there. The Haifa oil refinery, Israel's energy backbone, was also hit. Control systems were crippled. An emergency shutdown was declared. This wasn't about killing, it was about crippling. The lifeblood of Israel's infrastructure was now bleeding. The following day brought fresh terror. This time, the target wasn't a frontline or a military site. It was Herzliya, a serene, upscale coastal city, known as the heart of Israeli intelligence, home to secret agencies including Mossad. Missiles exploded over a residential neighborhood. Homes were damaged. Plumes of smoke painted the sky. The government remained silent, but videos captured the impact clearly. Iran had struck a nerve, one deeper than any missile could reach. It was a warning to the elite. Not even your secrets are safe anymore. Then came a hit that carried a chilling message. Bnei Brak, an ultra-Orthodox city, typically untouched by conflict, fell under attack. On the night of June 16, a missile slammed into a crowded complex. Walls cracked. Glass shattered across blocks. Frightened residents spilled into the streets, many in religious garments, clinging to disbelief. The city's sense of divine protection vanished in a flash. What was once seen as a spiritual refuge now felt abandoned. But perhaps no place defines Israel like Gush Dan, the sprawling core of its economy and governance. That night, it too came under fire. Some missiles were intercepted, but others found their mark, damaging buildings, torching vehicles, and knocking out power grids. Explosions echoed across residential and commercial districts alike. Gush Dan is more than geography. It is the pulse of Israeli power. And now even that pulse was disrupted. This wasn't just physical destruction. It was symbolic collapse. Then came Sunday, and with it, a terrifying escalation. Missiles were headed toward Caesarea, home to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This wasn't about military command posts. This was personal. A blast shook the elite neighborhood surrounding the Prime Minister's home. The government offered no comment. But the message from Tehran was loud even in silence. We know who leads this war. And we know where he sleeps. The world held its breath. Not because peace was near, but because things had turned far more volatile. Israel retaliated unconventionally, striking Iran's state-run media station. The broadcast cut out mid-report. The message, silence, for silence. But Iran didn't blink. It responded with more than firepower. It unleashed fear. Broadcast warnings urged Israelis to flee. Leave before it's too late, they said. The psychological war had begun. Then whispers of something even darker emerged. Rumors swirled that Israel was preparing a targeted strike, an assassination attempt on Ayatollah Ali Khamenei himself. The global alarm sounded. Even Donald Trump reportedly opposed it. Vladimir Putin stepped in, dialing Jerusalem personally. His warning was direct. This is not defense. This is destruction. The stakes had now reached an unimaginable level. Diplomacy is now a whisper. Cities are burning. Leaders plot, and the world edges closer to collapse. The question is no longer who will win, but who will have the wisdom to step back before there's nothing left to say.